Every corner of history and science is packed with facts that just don't sound real. I mean, there was that con artist bold enough to sell the Eiffel Tower, not once, but twice. Or the mystery behind why cats purr. I mean, the experts say it's actually a healing mechanism. The vibrations helping to repair bones and tissue. Maybe the whole cats have 9 lives thing isn't too far off. So let's dive in. 20 random facts. Here we go. There's a legendary sound known as the brown note, a hypothetical frequency so low it's rumored to cause intense fear, disorientation, and yes, spontaneous bowel movements. The idea is that certain sound waves can vibrate the human body in all the wrong ways. But again, it's just a theory. It's never actually been proven. This hasn't stopped the military trying to harness the power of the brown note. But so far, they've been out of luck. Rest assured, your pants are safe. For now. In 1859, the sun unleashed a solar storm so intense it tore through Earth's magnetic defenses and fried telegraph wires across continents. Some operators were literally electrocuted mid-telegram. Lines sparked into flame and auroras lit up skies near the equator like some kind of apocalyptic light show. It became known as the Carrington event, and if something like that hit today, satellites would fry, power grids would collapse, and we'd all be back to lighting fires with sticks like it was the Stone Age 2.0. Back in the 1920s, when Paris pulsed with jazz, champagne flowed, and the Eiffel Tower was still a relatively new symbol of French pride, master con artist Victor Lustig decided to sell it. Disguised as a high-ranking government official, he held a secret meeting with scrap metal dealers, claiming the landmark was set to be dismantled. He showed them fake papers, took their money, and then just disappeared. It was so lucrative that he tried the scam again. He sold the Eiffel Tower twice without spending a single day in jail. The world's most expensive coffee. That would be Kopi Luwak. And the story of its origin is a strange one. The beans begin their journey inside a small nocturnal animal called the civet cat, which prowls coffee farms at night, carefully selecting and eating only the ripest cherries. Inside the civet's digestive system, natural enzymes ferment the beans and change their chemical makeup, smoothing the flavour and reducing acidity. Eventually, the beans are, let's say, left behind. Farmers collect them, roast them, and turn them into a smooth, earthy cup that can fetch hundreds of dollars per pound. Yes, people really pay a premium for civet poop coffee. Scientists still don't fully understand why cats purr. Sure, we know they do it when they're content, like some tiny, furry engine idling in your lap. But they also purr when they're scared, hurt, or even on the verge of death. Some experts think it's a self-soothing habit, while others say the low, steady vibrations actually speed up healing by stimulating bone growth and tissue repair. So it's not just all about affection, it could be quietly performing a homegrown medical procedure on itself. There's an odd psychological disorder called clinical lycanthropy, where people genuinely believe they're transforming into animals. And it's not just wolves in a full moon. Medical reports have documented cases of people convinced they're turning into dogs, horses, frogs, and absurdly, bees. Sufferers often describe vivid physical sensations like teeth lengthening and skin prickling as if sprouting fur or scales, and even muscles shifting beneath the surface. The condition's usually linked to schizophrenia or severe psychosis, and it blurs the line between hallucination and reality. The world's largest tomato processing company doesn't have bosses. Not a single one. It's called the Morningstar Company, and they've managed to build a multi-billion-dollar operation with 0 managers. Employees write their own job descriptions, negotiate duties directly with their peers, and even set their own salaries. And while it might sound like chaos, somehow it works. In fact, they're one of the most efficient food processing companies on Earth. Apparently, they don't just can tomatoes. They've canned the entire concept of middle management. In 1958, a New York man took what just might be the most terrifying elevator ride in history. The cables on his elevator snapped, sending him plunging 75 stories down the Empire State Building's shaft. But just before impact, the elevator's emergency safety clamps gripped the rails and brought it to a stop. Amazingly, he walked away shaken but alive. I'm guessing he probably takes the stairs from now on, and on that note, I think I might too. In 1930, a lone trapper reached a remote Inuit village in Canada and stumbled into one of the strangest unsolved disappearances in North American history. Fires still burned, meals sat half cooked, but the entire community had vanished without a trace. There were no footprints, no signs of struggle, just complete silence. Search parties combed the frozen wilderness but found nothing. And nearly a century later, no one knows what happened to the people of Lake Angikuni. In the early 1900s, the Olympics hosted some events that were more party tricks than athletic feats. Take the standing high jump, for example, where athletes leapt straight up from a standstill. There was no running start, just jumping vertically in the air like human pogo sticks. Then there was the plunge for distance, where competitors pushed off from the edge of a pool, dove into the water, and then floated forward face down without moving. The goal being to see who can travel the greatest distance before coming to a complete stop. The Olympics looked a little different back then. Back in the 1400s, rich Europeans decided that the best way to show off their wealth wasn't with gold or jewels. It was with ridiculously long shoes. These things were called Cracows, and the tips could stretch over 2 feet long. As you'd expect, this made walking in them problematic, but mobility wasn't really the point. I mean, the longer the toe, the more important you were. It was medieval overcompensation at its finest. In the late 1800s, doctors warned women about a terrifying new medical condition called bicycle face. The diagnosis? Well, a permanent look of exhaustion, flushed cheeks, and a face somewhere between a grimace and Edward Munch's The Scream. They claimed it was supposedly caused by the unnatural strain of riding a bike at a time when cycling was booming among women. In reality, it was all a creative scare tactic to try and hamper female independence, right up there with claiming reading novels might overheat the brain. In Sweden, there's an entire museum dedicated to inventions that never should have made it past the sketchpad. It's called the Museum of Failure, and it proudly showcases humanity's worst ideas, like a bicycle made entirely of plastic, a rejuvenating face mask worthy of a horror movie, and even an ode to the Fire Festival, the greatest party that never happened. And while you might think these were all half-baked basement experiments, they weren't. I'm talking big-name corporate faceplants like Juicero, the $700 Wi-Fi connected juicer that needed an app to squeeze a single-serve juice packet, until people figured out that they can literally just cut the corner and squeeze it by hand. The phrase "a few" sounds simple enough, until you actually ask people what it means. Some will confidently tell you it's 3, others are convinced it means 4 or 5, and then there's always that one person who claims it could be anything under 10. But the truth is, it's one of those wonderfully vague English terms with no fixed number and way too much room for interpretation. It all depends on tone, context, and how badly they want to avoid giving you a straight answer. So if someone says, "I'll be there in a few minutes," it could be 5 minutes, could be tomorrow. Who knows? There was a time when paper, scissors, rock wasn't just the ultimate way to win an argument. It was a professional sport. Yeah, there was an actual league, complete with televised matches, ranked players, and some interesting commentary that spoke of rock dominance and the devastating unpredictability of scissors. At its peak, around 2006, thousands of fans packed venues to watch players who studied opponents' patterns and honed their paper-throwing reflexes compete in one of the more light-hearted forms of psychological warfare. Some fish don't just swim upstream, they straight up climb walls. Meet the Hawaiian goby. It's a palm sized freshwater fish with serious determination. Born in the ocean, it makes the long, perilous trek to quiet mountain streams to breed. A journey that involves climbing waterfalls, sometimes hundreds of feet tall. But how? Well, it's got specially adapted fins that work like tiny suction cups, gripping slick vertical rock while it shuffles higher inch by inch. Nature's strangest miniature mountain climber. Olympic curling stones, those 40-pound rocks that they slide across the ice, well, they start their lives off on an uninhabited Scottish island called Ailsa Craig. Every single one is made of rare, super dense granite found almost nowhere else on Earth. The granite's extreme hardness means it can take years of impacts without chipping, and its low water absorption keeps it from freezing or cracking in the cold. This combination makes it perfect for sliding effortlessly over ice, match after match, without losing its shape or speed. Memories aren't just memories. They come in different types, and your brain switches between them all day long without you even knowing. Semantic memory is like your internal fact library. It stores general knowledge like what a tomato is, how to use a doorknob, and that the sun rises in the east. Episodic memory, on the other hand, is like your own private playlist of all the stuff you've ever lived through. It tracks specific experiences like where you left your keys or what you ate for lunch last Tuesday. So yeah, your brain may know what a key is and how it works, but that doesn't mean it remembers where you left it. Back in 2001, a 13-year-old Boy Scout got separated from his group during a camping trip in the wilds of Wyoming. Search teams were dispatched, panic was rising, and then cue the cinematic music. Harrison Ford showed up. It wasn't a lookalike, it was the actual real-life Harrison Ford. Turns out, Ford, an experienced licensed pilot, regularly volunteered his own helicopter for local search and rescue missions. He was flying low over the rugged terrain when he spotted the boy, made a smooth landing in the wilderness, and brought him to safety. It's like the next installment of Indiana Jones, just with a headset instead of a fedora. In 2022, a British startup called Jetpack Aviation unveiled something that felt just a little bit ahead of its time. A fully functional flying motorcycle. Dubbed the Speeder, this machine doesn't just hover, it lifts off vertically, balances mid-air, and reportedly can hit speeds of up to 240 kilometers per hour. It's all thanks to its jet turbine engines. And yes, it does sound like a lawnmower on steroids. For now, it's still a prototype, but it's real, it flies, and it sure makes the future feel a whole lot closer. So there you go. Whether it's the world's most expensive coffee that took a detour through the digestive system of a small furry animal, or the terrifying medical condition known only as bicycle face. It's true, fact could very well be stranger than fiction. And the best part, there's more. I've got plenty of completely random facts hiding in these two conveniently placed boxes right here. But that's all for this video, so thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.